Hello, everyone, and welcome to this next episode of the RICS Tech Partner Discussions with our partners. I'm Andrew Knight of RICS. I've been with RICS for over 10 years now, and I work in the Standards Regulatory and Thought Leadership Department, and my role is to look at the effect, positive in my view, of data and technology right across the profession. And I'm really pleased today to have Costas with me from Goodlord. So Costas, do come online and do give us a bit of a background on Goodlord and why it exists and what the founder's backstory is. So give us a bit of an introduction, Costas, if you would.
Wonderful. Thank you, Andrew, and thank you for having me. Goodlord. So always firstly start with my background. I've been with Goodlord since the beginning of 2019. Obviously, the business has been going on a lot longer than that, but I've been in the industry for nearly 17 years now. Supporting agents, whether it's through lettings or through sales, and looking at solutions and as a supplier to assist them. In terms of Goodlord itself, so we look after letting agents. We were created to support all stakeholders within that journey. So whether it's the agent, the landlord, or the tenant, we look at the journey, we look at the user experience for each of those stakeholders, and we try and make it the best moving experience possible. Probably a simple way for us to explain what we do. One of the big features for us, one of the big things that the agents like, is that we're able to consolidate the number of suppliers they need to complete just one basic tenancy. So many agents will be using anything up to 9-10 suppliers just for one tenancy from end to end. And we're able to streamline that into one place for them, so they have one person to go to, one dashboard, so it's easy to read. But if you were to ask our agents what else we do, really we sit around 3 key themes. The first one is saving time. That's something we all need to do, especially in this environment today, which I'm sure we'll talk about a little bit later. Yeah. And it's time to use how you want. So some agents want to go home early, make sure the kids can recognise them still, and others want to grow their business. So it's really down to them. The other one will be around legislation and making sure that we are protecting our agents during that journey. So the platform itself is very good in making sure that anything that needs to be sent out is not only sent out correctly, but it's sent out on time as well, at the right time, which is another challenge, especially during a busy period where manual errors can happen very easily. And the last one, obviously, we're all in business to make money. So we're also there to help agents, and we offer a number of services to both landlords and tenants, but we only look at services that we know that landlords and tenants want and they buy from somewhere. So why shouldn't they buy them from their agent, and why shouldn't they buy them with the offers that we're able to push through those agents, which helps obviously the agent build a better relationship and a stronger brand. So that's really what we do. As with most startups, it started with a letting agent that knew a tenant very well, and couldn't believe how difficult it was to rent out a property, and how much paperwork and touch points were involved to get from one end to the other. So they put their heads together, brought in a tech expert, and that's where Goodlord started. And they were very fortunate to land with the help of other agents right at the beginning that helped us build the product. And we stay very close to our agents today in terms of improvements, and we make over a couple of hundred improvements every year to our platform on the back of that feedback.
Well, that's great. And it's always heartening to hear that mix of kind of industry knowledge and tech knowledge, because I think there's always a danger that if you lack one of those pieces, it's hard to kind of develop a platform, a solution that both addresses the real solutions and problems that the market has, and also does it in a technically elegant way as well. So that's great. So we obviously live in extraordinary times, Costas, but what's the first half of this year been like for Goodlord and your various stakeholders that you support?
Sure. Well, like with many agents, it's been a busy start to the year. Thankfully, may it continue. You know, we've had to grow probably every team within our business. So we're now over 265 people across 5 or 6 business units, depending on the product or service that the agent is using through us. So it's been really busy from that perspective. We've actually had our busiest ever day and week this month since our birth, so it just shows that the market is very healthy. So that's been good. We've seen big increases in certain areas of our business, especially around insurance. rent protection being a big one for us, and that's been driven by agents probably being a little bit more open to talk about rent protection and the training that we give them to help that. But also, we've also seen a big drive from landlords that are now asking for rent protection, whereas previously they saw it as probably a cost or something they've never needed before. And that's been a really big change. And in monthly, we get a couple of hundred phone calls potentially from landlords asking us about rent protection. So we know the market has definitely changed this year. I've not seen that before. So that's been really good.
Good. No, I mean, I suppose it's interesting in the sense that obviously behaviours have changed in many respects right across the life cycle of property, and obviously in your particular space. Now, obviously, to some extent, busy is good, but there must be a huge number of pain points that brings out for agents and landlords. What sort of things have you seen in this kind of busy period that you've been hopefully able to help with, but clearly are rather than just being incredibly busy, there must be some real sort of pinch points around the process.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge at the moment is around legislation. If I'm being honest, I've read the right to rent new rules probably 7 or 8 times, but I would need to have my notes next to me to be able to remember every single scenario. So it's quite a big challenge for agents at the moment. I'm glad I'm not on the front line dealing with those inquiries. So obviously we, not only are we supplying the services, but we have a number of tools, webinars, seminars, podcasts, everything we can do to make sure our customers are completely aware from a compliance point of view and new legislation point of view what's happening. And we're usually, one of the first out in the market for that. So whether you're a Goodlord agent or not, it's all free. You can register on Goodlord, and we'll send you updates and help agents with that. So compliance and legislation is definitely the big story that we hear from our agents, especially their staff as well. And then the other real pain point at the moment is just time. Lettings is picking up. We're going into one of the busiest periods for lettings for this year. Sales doesn't seem to be slowing down. So we thought it was all going to be the stamp duty, but so they're having to balance both sides of that. And along with that, we can see that actually landlords are becoming a lot more demanding. Tenants are becoming demanding, buyers, sellers. So actually every deal now, you're having to have more contact, whether it's face-to-face, email, where it may be, than you've had previously. And that's another really big challenge. And we're seeing lots of agents now that are just hiring people to answer the phones so their staff can get on with doing the jobs. So that's another great challenge. And I think, and the one that's always there, it's there whenever, in my 17 years, it's always been the same, depending which area you're in, that's stock. Where would the stock be coming from?
And I mean, you mentioned obviously a nice introduction to what your platform does earlier on, but are there some particular parts of the platform that have really come into their own during this busy period that people have had to rely on even more?
Yeah, so we've introduced things like pre-call form for our platform as well. So agents are not needing to go out and do 30 viewings on a property. We can pre-qualify someone to make sure that they're able to take on the property before the viewings. That's saved a lot of time. But we've also stepped up in terms of the options, in terms of how tenants and landlords can proceed with their deals. So everything from introducing things like open banking, how we collect holding deposits. We've improved that platform. What we're trying to do is make that a much faster service for both sides and both parties so they can move on. So there'll be quite a lot going on, and obviously we've got some new features that are coming out as well that I can mention later on.
Yeah, no, that'd be interesting to hear about. So you obviously presumably got a tremendous crystal ball where you can see the future. What do you think the second half of the year is going to look like, Costas?
Second half is going to be painful. I think agents are going to really struggle with time. That's going to be, I think, the key driver here, and it's about how well are agents able to keep their staff updated, keep them motivated. I think we will see a lot more stress in the marketplace moving forward. But I think I think the key thing that we've learned from some of our agents is the agents that had invested in time and training with their staff were best prepared for this. Another example that we've seen is where agents have been able to teach or train their staff on to do more than one job within the agency, because one side of the business runs faster than the others at times. and what they're able to do then is to rebalance the business
Yeah.
so that each department is keeping up with each other, whereas previously you only looked after your own part of the journey. And some people will be sitting doing nothing, and others would literally not have enough time in the day to keep up. So that's another big thing. And I think second half, obviously furlough coming to an end. That's another challenge. We know it's going to have an impact. We're already starting to see the first shoots of that, but no one really can understand how big that will be, or how big or small that will be. So I think furlough is a big unknown from our perspective. And one of the things that we've been doing with our agents is talking to them about, have you got a furlough protection plan in place? Let's work on a worst case scenario. How can we help you? How can we help you to mediate where necessary? How can we help landlords now protect their income for 6 months time? How can we help you do that now? And obviously by looking after the landlords and their income, arguably it helps the agent as well. That's where it comes from.
You mentioned earlier about shortage of stock. I mean, in terms of that kind of balance of supply and demand, do you foresee any change in that dynamic over the second half of this year?
I think there's a few reports coming out now from different places, which is quite nice to see. That I think landlord sentiment in terms of investing in more properties seems to be moving in a positive place. So that's good to see. And I think speaking to agents as well, they're seeing that as well. Landlords coming back to the market. I think stamp duty has helped that as well, and still there. So I think that's a key driver for me. But I think also one of the things that the last 18 months has also created is with flexible working, is that tenants are willing to live in areas where potentially they wouldn't have previously, and some areas now will open up, and landlords can now consider those areas as well as investment areas. So I think the agents that are on the front foot with that may be looking at maybe roads or part of their existing patch that they may never have thought of before. There's a real opportunity there to expand, but also just looking at your territory as a whole. Can you expand your territory by another mile, 2 miles, to really capture the opportunity there? Because demand from tenants is still higher than it's ever been.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's become a bit of a cliche in the kind of the sales area, this sort of move to, as you say, both other areas, but also the desire for gardens and for spare rooms for home offices. Is that being reflected as well in terms of the kind of the supply, the demand side of what people are looking for?
Yeah, it's definitely in terms of the speed of a let. We've had it in the past before as well, but anything that comes on the market now that we're hearing from our agents, anything that's any 4 bedrooms, so people are looking for that extra bedroom because they want the office, as you mentioned. So 4 bedrooms are flying off the shelves. Anything with the garden, south facing, it's a completely different world to what it's been. So a lot of it will depend on that. And I think another challenge, maybe not for this year, but moving into the next few years, will be that obviously people like the build to rent sector, professional landlords now, they're not just renting out properties, they're renting out lifestyles. So I think a lot of landlords are going to have competition on their hands in terms of trying to keep up with these lifestyles renting, not just four walls and a roof. So that's going to be another interesting journey to watch.
Exactly. And I presume at a nuts and bolt level, people are asking how good is the internet for this particular flat or this particular house? Because if I'm going to have to work from home, I want some decent internet.
Yeah, we've also seen that with previously, a high number of tenants and landlords will be completing a lot of their documents online through Goodlord. That percentage has increased dramatically during lockdown. There's no more excuses anymore for agents to say, well, my landlords don't have email, they like to do it in person, or they like to. That was something that maybe existed 10 years ago. But by testing it and asking those people now, can I send you something online to sign, and the answer being yes, that's obviously helping, and something that a myth that we finally have removed.
Yeah. No, I think for better or for worse, COVID has done that. It's driven a lot of existing, well, I suppose it's turbocharged a lot of existing trends like that, hasn't it? It made people realise that it can be done that way, and we probably won't go back to the old ways for better or for worse, will we? So.
No, and we're also seeing a lot more agents, because one of the benefits of our, because we're a cloud-based system, one of the benefits is you can actually complete a tenancy actually while you're in the house doing the viewing. So we're also seeing a lot more agents taking up that opportunity to get the offer letter signed, take the deposit, and even start the referencing off before they even left the property, which is great.
Good. Well, I guess my last question is we talked about the market as a whole for the second half of the year. What's Goodlord going to be doing for the rest of the year in terms of enhancements and reacting to the way the market's moving?
Sure. Well, I think we need to keep growing. So, got quite a few vacancies out there if anyone who wants to come and join Goodlord. There's a little pitch for you. But in addition to that, I think there's, along with obviously continuing to improve the journey within the marketplace, we have a number of launches happening this year. So we will be launching to Scotland very soon. We're currently in beta phase with that. So really do England, Wales, so Scotland remains. Sorry, Scotland's taking a bit of time for us to get there, but we are there now. Yeah. We're obviously, alongside the improvements as well, we're also launching our rent collection service. So we're taking our journey even further. So going back to trying to reduce the number of suppliers you have, but also having one system that talks to itself rather than having to go to lots of different places. So that's really exciting for us, and we're having really positive feedback from our existing customers wanting to jump onto that service as soon as that's available. And we're also working with other partners in the mostly the deposit world. So we're looking at how we can automate the deposit registration process as well, taking another thing off of our agents' hands and making sure it's done in a compliant way each time. So quite a few things going on, and probably a couple more that I've forgotten. Quite busy.
Don't worry, no, that's very interesting, and gives us plenty to talk about next time that we have the opportunity to record one of these episodes. So thanks for your time this afternoon. It's been fascinating. I look forward to talking to you again, Costas.
Wonderful. Thank you for you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.